Alright guys, so I'm gonna do my final rating of the game. As you can see, I'm in a different character. This is the character I used to first beat Dark Souls 1 and I think Dark Souls no and in my second run was this account. Actually it's good because I can read the Black Halberd Knight, which for some reason I never picked up this weapon, the halberd. But this is the greatest weapon in the game. I didn't want to use it because I already used it to beat the game, and I wanted to. I don't want to use. This like a cop out kind of, and I never got to. I feel like I never got to get good or experience the game because I had this overpowered weapon. I +5'd it or like +3'd it by the time I got to Ornstein Smoke. So, but Halberd of the Black Knights who wander Laudren used to face chaos demons. The large motion that puts the weight of the body into the attack reflects the great size of their adversaries long ago. But yeah, I was just looking at him in my load game. I can see all my characters, and one, I didn't realize how many characters I had in Dark Souls 1, and also this character, first game and second game, and I think this might be the third game to wherever I'm at, bro. I only have 56 hours, right? Not much, right? One character, I'm level 117. I just looked at my character for my playthrough I just did. I think it's like Georgie it's called. Dude, I had up 100 hours. How did that happen? How did that happen? That's crazy. I don't remember putting in that many hours. That's pretty wild. But yeah, I'm just on this character so I can just walk around as I read my final rating. So let's get to that. In this world, everyone's alive. Wow, I'm mid-rolling with all this on. But yeah, I looked up what was the greatest, okay, I looked up two things. Greatest weapon, greatest, armor. And it gave me the greatest defensive armor, so I went Smoke. And, of course, I beat Smoke last. Yeah, because it was easier. So I just did everything optimized, basically. But, final rating of Dark Souls 1, what this is. Okay, so I want to right away I want to distinguish that I distinguish differently the lore and the story. So just be aware. Don't be quick to think some kind of way about the rating, even though it's not bad, because I get to it. So the first thing, the story. What do I rate the story of the game? So if you confuse what the difference might be between the lore and the story, because in my mind at first they were pretty much the same or similar, and they kind of are in a way, but I consider the story what you're actually playing through in the game. Yes, a lot of the lore is comes from reading the descriptions, and it's kind of part of the game, but at the same time that is kind of different to what you can read and then speculate on based on what you read and what you see in the world. And then there's what you're actually really seeing, hearing, and experiencing as you're playing through the game. Because in my first time finishing the game, I finished Dark Souls in like, it was like a month period, kind of playing a little. I think it was either a weekend or it was like 2-3 weeks. Okay, so and when I finished it, I had no clue what the actual story was. I just kind of went through the game, experiencing like the gameplay of it. It wasn't until after I was like, well, what really happened? And I looked and I saw all the videos, all the lore, all the behind the scenes, all the things about it that it made me fall in love with the game. That there could have been all of this in the game, and I love the way they revealed it too, and like the descriptions and everything, and how looking at the world, it's kind of telling you things. I never looked at anything like that. That was the thing. I just played games and just played them. It wasn't how I played Dark Souls. It was quarantine year. It was probably 5 years ago. Yeah, 5 years ago during Christmas. So soon it'll be 5 years. I finished playing it probably like 4.5. But it wasn't until I played Dark Souls I realized that you can make something like this in a game. The only thing I could have thought of that might be this kind of so much like stuff to it and lore I like to say Lord of the Rings, but I don't think I really even knew about Lord of the Rings. So maybe like Star Wars, or maybe like Game of Thrones, or like maybe The Witcher. Maybe I would have thought about Lord of the Rings, but those things that they had all this. I actually probably thought of like Skyrim. I think I at that time would have been Skyrim, because I don't think I even knew much about all that stuff. So probably thought of it like Skyrim, how there's like a lot of like lore and behind the scenes to it, but it was so good. And I don't remember what it was. I was just looking at things. I don't know if it was something about Howl the Rock or the end game choice. I think it was that I looked up that I saw there's another ending, so I looked up into it, and then it told me the actual like story of the game, what's happening. Then I looked a little bit more into it. I remember like right after I finished the game, I started watching all these things, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, bro, I'm like, it's crazy how they make stuff like this. But all that was to say that the story itself isn't necessarily that. I feel like it's what you're actually seeing in the game. So the story and what you see when you're playing, which this is what I rated the story. The beginning, well, with that cinematic scene in the beginning, what they tell you, the kind of like origins, I guess. I don't know, the origins, the backstory. Yeah, it's the backstory, right? About these Lord Souls and the everlasting dragons and the world before and the new world. All right, and then the undead curse that comes from that. Then you go through it. The first thing's the two bells. Ring the two bells. It's the prophecy. So yeah, the prophecy of the undead to ring the two bells. You ring the two bells. Maybe throughout that time you're reading more stuff about the world. But you can easily miss that too. So the story is you ring the two bells because you're the chosen undead, or the supposed, and that's the prophecy. Is the one who can do this is the chosen one in the story. You ring that. You go to Adorlando. I don't remember what was the reason exactly you go through Adorlando to meet the lord of the lords of the world, or whatever. That maybe that was a purpose. But then it's acquire the 4 Lord Souls to unlock or get the Lord Vessel, get the 4 Lord Souls, and face Gwyn. That's kind of the story. All the other stuff I consider it lore and I consider it separate. But all that, just think about it. Chosen undead imprisoned. Okay, you ring the 2 bells. You fight through all this, and that's like the kind of like the pinnacle part of the game, getting to the 2 the 2 bells of awakening, ringing those, then going to the Lord's realm or city, and then defeating the 4 great powers, and then at the end in this epic map fighting the final boss. And the music and the look, like the character and like that moment, and then that final choice, either sacrifice yourself or you abandon everything. That is an amazing story. That is great. Maybe I rank it higher because I'm using other things to include it in the story. Whatever, I don't really care that much. I rank the story of the game. Just that, I ranked that 9.75 out of 10. If there was no extreme lore, I do think I would still rate this story super high. It would be a little biased, including the lore stuff and how great that is into the story, but at the same time, it kind of has to in a way. Next up, the gameplay. Me, when I got into this game, when I got the game, I've heard of it. I knew of it. I knew kind of the aura, I guess you could say, about these games in this game. I was very unclear. I didn't really know. I just knew it was a game that it was really hard, and they had these like epic kind of bosses, and like these boss fights. It was a boss fight game in my mind. It was a hard game, as I came to learn it, as I was getting close to getting it. So that was all I knew of it. So my thing is saying the gameplay of this game is the #1 like vibe, not vibe, what is a aura? I don't want to use it, the word aura is kind of corny, but it is what these games are. It's their gameplay and how hard it is. That is the defining thing about it. This game, I think the lore is a defining thing after playing it, but beforehand it was just that hard game with the cool bosses, the cool looking bosses. I didn't know much about any of it. I knew like, let's say it's like all this is the game. I knew like that much, right? And it was all over the place and it wasn't clear. So I was really blind, kind of going in. I was super blind going into the game. I just knew that. Anyways, the gameplay of the game is the funny thing about it. Is what kind of brings people. Is what people who like me, who never heard of it, who doesn't know much about it, who doesn't know anything actually in the game. This is what they know: is the difficulty in gameplay. With that being said, with all that still being said, I absolutely love the gameplay of the game. Gameplay is really what you play a game for. At the end of the day, you can make a game like it's not on the channel, but you can make something like Silent Hill 2, which the gameplay is honestly weak, but it's a story game, and the gameplay fits the story. If you don't know nothing about it, then means kind of nothing. But Silent Hill 2 is the only game I played where the gameplay, even though the gameplay, if you just look at the gameplay, is actually kind of trash. It fits the story. It's not that bad, but it fits the story so well, and for what they're trying to do, is specifically for like a story-based thing. But only that game is the exception. But for the most part, games are really for the gameplay, because if the gameplay is trash, the game's kind of trash. Besides Silent Hill 2. Silent Hill 2 is the only game I played that it kind of beats that rule. So, gameplay on this game, I say, is very great. Just to put that out there. I found it very fun, is why I played this. What I'm trying to say. The gameplay was good, is why I kept playing it. I love the upgrading. I absolutely love the upgrading. Just the upgrading almost made me put it above a 10. But I love the upgrading. It's one of the funny things for all people. As people get deeper in the games, they care more about the lore and story. But everyone that gets into it and enjoys it is the gameplay. And everyone talks about the fact that you go from being very weak, not knowing, to knowing a lot about the game and becoming very strong, maybe even overpowered. I don't know if that was the case for me in this front, which was nice. It was the case for this character, but this is the overcoming. You hear everybody say this, and it adds to the gameplay so much. It is the gameplay, and it's part of the game so much. The upgrading, the overcoming, the getting stronger, the actual gameplay itself, like the mechanics, absolutely amazing. It was the first game I ever played that was actually like, everything about this game is so I don't know the words, but it's so in depth, but it's so much more. It's like, what's a bland game? Maybe any new Ubisoft game. It's like, its story is bland, its gameplay is bland, it's do this, do that. There's like almost no meaning to anything. It's like there's no meaning to even make it the game. Besides money. And abusing the name and titles of great game series. Right? But this game is like, everything was made to be so in depth. The story, the lore, the gameplay, the fighting. It's like, this game's fighting. And besides Soulsborne, it's like, what games really had gameplay where it's like, there was, it took the fun, like super fun gameplay, super challenging, which is its own appeal, super skill based, and also like, it gives you that kind of hack and slash feel where it's like, you get very powerful, and like you have all these new kind of moves and skill sets. Like I had never played it, but something like God of War, I know from watching and listening and stuff about it. It's like, you get all these items, you can upgrade them. You can visually see, like, I don't know, like, I played Dante's Inferno, which is kind of like a mock-up of that, but it's like, Dark Souls also has that kind of vibe to it, with your armor, your new weapons, your new powers. It has everything, and it's still skill. It's still like a skill kind of gameplay. It's still challenging. I'm not doing it justice how I'm describing. There's so much more to get into because I kind of want to move on. But it's like, bro, the gameplay is so good. The only thing, because I have to find something to criticize. Because other than that, it's like a 10 or 11. I have to find something to criticize to truly judge it. I don't want to just give anything 10 and 11. This game does not deserve a 10 or 11 because there's some things wrong. It doesn't affect one specific thing doesn't affect me too much as others do, because others don't view this game as highly as I do, at least compared to the other games. People say this game's good, but they value other Soulsborne games more. I never finished Elden Ring, so I can't say anything about that game. But I played Dark Souls 2 and 3 and Sekiro. Yeah, and none of those, in my heart, holds a cake. They can't even look up and see its face, in my opinion, compared to Dark Souls 1. I think Dark Souls 1 is like the pinnacle of these Soulsborne games. I had not finished Elden Ring, okay? I played probably like an hour. Not really, but it gives you an idea. Like, they just don't compare. Gameplay, yes, I say gameplay, yes. Gameplay, story, everything. But the gameplay, a lot of things when people complain about is that it's clunky, it's not as smooth or fast, which is true. I love that. I prefer that over the newer games and other things, but I'm not gonna get into. I'll get into that if I ever play those games. But what did it for me with the rating is there's a lot of like kind of like BS at times, like getting hit through walls, bad like sometimes bad, getting screwed gameplay wise by things in the game that they made in the game. For example, sometimes how the camera moves and it messes you up. Sometimes how you can get hit when you're not supposed to. Just stuff like that. I can't give it a perfect or beyond gameplay. Though it is it's so close to it. I can't. But it hits everything and it supersedes it. I just can't give it. I might actually even increase my gameplay rating. Oh no, I think it was that I took off like 0.25, and then the other thing was kind of like how it's supposed to be difficult and hard, but it gets to a point in certain areas where it's like it's so much, not necessarily difficulty, but like kind of like so much stuff like seems like it's stacked against you that it's like too much, that made me take off another 0.25. Just it's because it's bridging the line of like it's almost too much to even enjoy, and that's something that happens at times when playing the game. I'm not doing justice exactly what I'm trying to say with my words that I'm speaking, but I think you can get a little bit of what I'm trying to say. So for that, I give the gameplay 9.5. I'm extremely comfortable with that rating. I think it perfectly represents, because it's not perfect gameplay, but it's so good at what it. In fact, the things that's wrong with it is probably intentional too. So I think they really have executed and what they were making, because I can understand that and their perfection of what they were doing with this game, that it does not fulfill. It can hit certain parts of it, can hit people wrong. Like for example, you want to make a really hard game, really challenging, really messes the player, that you succeed and perfect in that in your game, but that in itself might ruin it slightly for people, which at the end of the day, like basically what I'm trying to say, it's like their goal was to make a game that wasn't necessarily, the gameplay that wasn't necessarily perfect, because they did what they wanted to. Okay, now the last part is the miscellaneous. And what's my rating? What makes up the miscellaneous? I have characters, the lore, the maps, the graphics, the dialogue, and the music. This is what I compiled. I added the lore, but I know for the last game I finished, which was Far Cry 3, I had maps and missions, because there's a map and there's like areas, locations, the maps, that 2 islands, and then there was the missions. Well, this game doesn't really have missions. The only thing close is what kind of like the story is, right? Beat the Asylum, ring the 2 bells, adore Londo, 4 Lord Souls, finish Gwen. Well, I guess there's a DLC too. This game doesn't necessarily have missions. what it has is kind of part of the story, I feel. It has maps, but what is left and what makes this game, there's not really lore for Far Cry 3. Like that's not what the game was made for. This game absolutely was made for lore, and I have to include it, and I have to include it in its own thing. So that's why that's a specific thing, because it's kind of replacing something else and it works. The characters, I think, for this game, and it in himself alone wouldn't give it this rating, this high rating. But it's because of kind of like, you have to play to know, but the vibe and the feel and what they were going for in this game, they fulfilled their need perfectly, the characters in this game. So them in itself, it's not like they're anything special. It's not like it's a Metal Gear Solid 3, or it's not like it's Voss from Far Cry 3, right? But it's because specifically of the world they made. They can be weak and like they're not like, whatever you will rank it or judge it off. They don't need to be that, because there's a game in the world that they perfectly filled, and they have to get an excellent rating. The characters in this game, all the NPCs you talk to, the bosses, what they fulfilled, what they do, gives it excellent. It's absolutely excellent. The characters in this game, for this game, they're absolutely excellent, absolutely perfect. The lore, I rank this above, beyond, and above that. I don't think I can. Maybe there are things I can get close. I don't think I'll ever play anything or see anything that it's lore. This is all personal, by the way. I mean, at the end of the day, it is kind of like that. I can only see from my own eyes and think from my own head. But the lore absolutely supersedes. I think I know for sure. I don't think I'll touch anything that its lore will hit me like this lore did. This lore, I think, will supersede anything I'll ever possibly dive into. I feel like for sure any game. I know other games, they have a lot of lore, like Elder Scrolls. I don't think it can ever hold a candle to this first game's lore. I rank this lore, the lore, I don't even know what this rating really means, but I rate it, it's kind of goofy. I rate it Omni. I don't even, it is above everything else. This the lore for Dark Souls 1. This is a rating. I purposely gave it this because I know it's something. I don't think I'll ever give anything this rating again. This is truly a special moment. All the gaming, this game is truly special in many things, but in this, the lore is truly phenomenal. But next thing is the maps. The maps in this, what this means is, this is example. I consider like a map. You have the Lost Izalith, you have the Asylum, you have Adorlando, Sieve's Castle. These are the different scenery. I consider these the maps. And the maps in this game, I honestly should probably put a little bit even higher, but I try to chill with doing stuff like that. But the maps in this game is absolutely excellent. Again, I don't think I'll ever really see much of a game that they can. I might honestly have to move this up. I might actually do that in the future too. Change this, but I put it excellent. I think the scene. I mean, just look, the scenery, how it explains a story and the lore is absolutely excellent, absolutely perfect. It's just amazing. You just get to have to see the scenery, there's more ways to describe it, but I'll just leave it at that. It is absolutely excellent. The maps in this game, the visuals, and the next up is the graphics, which kind of aids to. It's kind of part of the maps, but I think of it separately. It's the graphics in this game. I think for games, you can judge graphics based on how good they look, how good they show up when you have like higher settings, higher like power. I'm almost looking past that for this game, because this game is old. This is remastered, but old. Maybe it's because it's remastered too, I'm saying this, but it's old, far old. I'm playing just on console, on the Xbox One S. and this game looks absolutely beautiful. After all this time, it holds up so well. Regardless of the time, it's still so amazing how the sun affects. I've never played a game where it looked like how parts of this game looked, and this goes for both the graphics and the maps. I just never seen, when I'm playing Dark Souls, when I first played Dark Souls, I just don't see anything like this. It's even past like movies or shows, like I just never seen anything like this game. I can't believe that this game was able to be created and curated and made by well, it's a team, but made really in the mind of one man. It's like, it's insane. It's like, I can't believe if one person can think of this, how there's nothing that isn't even somewhat close. Right, in my time playing with graphics, another game that's just naturally, I think this might be the most naturally, no, this is the most naturally beautiful game I've ever played. Like GTA 5 back then, it was like the best graphics, whatever, when it, like the first year or two it came out. And of course, as more games come on and new console came, like it looked, I'm talking about the 360 version, it looked like bad. This game, how is it that this is remastered, so it's probably different because it's remastered, but how is it that this game can look so beautiful and stand out so much? It's been like, and this is the remaster, it came out 18, 16. It's been like 8 or 9 years. Wait, math this off. Like 6, whatever, 7, 8, 9 years. And no games come close to it. On, you can have a game where you can not upscale it, but you can have it on your powerful PC or graphics, whatever, and max out everything, and it looks like all bright. And but naturally, without anything, how good does your game look? This game is absolutely amazing with on the lowest scale, or with everything against it. It's absolutely amazing how it is. I don't understand how they did it. I don't understand how they do it. I don't understand what it is about this game that it just smacks so high on so many things. It's absolutely insane. That's why I said it is the greatest game, I think, ever. I think it's the greatest game ever. And I can't believe now it's so underappreciated. People call it clanky. What? I think the gameplay is awesome. Way more fun and better than the other ones. Anyways, next up, the dialogue. Out of everything, this is the weakest because I don't know how to judge dialogue. Also, the dialogue in this game is very, I ranked it, I ranked the graphics excellent, if I didn't say it. And the dialogue, I rank it just great, not very great, not excellent. I ranked it great because, one, I can't well, it's not much too noticeable. I like the voice acting. I like the way a lot of characters stand out and how they talk and like the vibe they give in the world. The dialogue fits great with the world. It's just like great because there's probably gonna be more chance for like more iconic lines maybe, or more perfection. Honestly, that's why I put it at great. Also, just for something that isn't, it makes it, I don't know. It's kind of nice not to have everything so much, but I think dialogue at great perfectly represents, because the dialogue is still nice. It's just not too noticeable like all the other stuff I mentioned. So far, everything's been like at the pinnacle of ratings, and I think that's accurate. Besides the dialogue, the dialogue's probably the only thing that is the weakest point in the game, and it's still super good. But the last thing is the music of the game. You're talking Firelink Shrine. When you enter worlds, it goes like, well, not, no. When you walk into a new area, I think it does that. When you go, I think when you go on the bonfire, there's a song. When you go through a fog wall, that's more like sounds, or probably, but the big thing that gave it this rating is the Gwen fight music, soundtrack, OST, whatever, is my favorite gaming song. Gwen's music is my absolute favorite song. Yeah, it's my favorite OST ever, bro. And I'm not into much of that besides stuff with this, for this game and that track. Bro, I absolutely love that track. It absolutely gives it the excellent rating because all the others are also very excellent too. But that is just so awesome, bro. And for that, I give the Miscellaneous an astounding. I don't think anything will ever beat Miscellaneous for what I have for my rankings for Miscellaneous subs. Maybe something had this, I don't know, but I think it's probably number one. And it represents how this game is kind of the number one. Quality, not quality, but if you want the number one game, I feel in gaming is Dark Souls 1. And it gives it a Miscellaneous rating of 13 out of 10. And then that leaves the overall final rating of Dark Souls 1. The rating is extreme, exaggerated, it doesn't make sense, but that's perfect because it represents how I see this game, how I see it in gaming and in games I've played so far. I think I have to say that Dark Souls 1, unless I play something in the future that will kind of change it, I would say it's like number 1 or 2, but I feel like I have to. I feel like I have to say it's number 1. This game completely changed my view on games I played after, how I see games. How I after Dark Souls 1, I started seeing games more after Dark Souls 1 and Silent Hill 2, and I think I played them around the same time. I don't remember what was first. I think Silent Hill 2 may have been first, but Dark Souls 1 really hit the cake on the head, whatever the saying is. But it completely changed how I saw games. And like I said, I truly think it's the greatest rating game you can ever play over over the Last of Us, over GTA 5. Over The Witcher 3, over Red Dead 2. Maybe Red Dead 2 is getting close to the number 1 game, but I think Dark Souls 1 is the number 1 game ever, and it leaves it with a final rating of 12 out of 10. Just blows the rating out the park. 10 out of 10 is supposed to be the max. I just had to put this at 12 out of 10 just to show how superior it is to many games. But that's it for my little yap. I just had to talk about this game like this. Yeah, greatest. I might honestly have to make this its own video, but Dark Souls 1, possibly the greatest game ever made. There are older games that I've played. There are older games, and I probably like Witcher 3. I mentioned a lot. Red Dead 2. I mentioned a lot. GTA 5. GTA 6 might put this thing to a fight, maybe not. Elden Ring, I haven't played that yet, so I can't really say, but I'm including because it could be. And then there are other games I haven't played, like people like Super Mario stuff. I'm not a fan of that stuff. Maybe there's a Call of Duty that you could put it in the rank of like best games ever. Skyrim, the Elder Scrolls, you might be able to put them amongst the conversation. And then there's like old stuff that I've never played, and it's something I have to get into and see. But like, I think if you look up top 10 games, I think some like one of the Zelda games, I know Super Mario or Mario, maybe like some Donkey Kong stuff, some old stuff, some like the Nintendo 64 stuff. That stuff's so old, too old for me to not to ever play. I'm not saying that, but they're too old for me to have tried and to be able to compare them to more modern games that I have more accessibility to. But excluding all that, for what I've played, and it probably will hold its own against those games I've ever played them, like the actual great games that people say that they are the greatest games that people would say. I'm putting forward Dark Souls 1 as the greatest game ever made. Yeah, that is the end. I hope you enjoyed this series. Hope you enjoyed this playthrough. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you enjoyed this rating. That is the end. Dark Souls 1 is the GOAT. Not my favorite. Don't get twisted. It's not. Doesn't mean it's my favorite game. It's not in my top 3 favorite games. It's approaching. It's like an honorable mention at this point. If you don't know, I separate my favorite from what I think is the greatest. or the most quality is kind of what I mean. The best you can play. Dark Souls 1 is not as beginner friendly. It's probably one of the most unbeginner friendly games. I remember actually my first time trying it was like Christmas Day, and I couldn't get past the asylum. I couldn't get past the enemy bosses, and I kind of just gave up. Playing it for like a few weeks. It was that January, February. I think it was like February I finished, but I think like at the end of January I started it back up, and that's when I got into it. After a little bit, I really got into it, and I started reading the item description, and that really made me get into it. And then I finished it, and then I started watching like a few lore videos. I was like, bro, this game is insane. I think then I knew like this is probably the greatest game ever made. But yeah, and then that those next like year or two, bro, I played no, even before that, man, that was such a crazy. That was like my golden age of gaming. Just the stuff. Well, maybe I had two golden ages. When I first started playing games on my Xbox 360 back in like 2013 or whatever, and then that quarantine period, I played Doom, Fable, The Witcher 3, Dark Souls 1, Subnautica, Resident Evil 7. I played so many, bro. Such a crazy time period. I hated those times. Not necessarily COVID, maybe a little bit COVID related. Absolutely hated those times, but I think it was like the extreme emotion from how much I disliked it to all the insane games I was playing that it made this weird, like, sick. I don't know what I'm saying. Crazy time period. What else? Yakuza 0. Final Fantasy, I think it was 10 that I kind of missed. I didn't finish it, but I played like a little bit, and it was like such a nice experience. The Witcher 3, then it became The Witcher 2, Dark Souls 1. There was one, just like, what was it called? Taxi Driver? No. Late Night Drive, something like that. There's more. I played Fallout New Vegas, finished that for the first time, because I couldn't get into it. I tried to play it, but I just couldn't get into it. Fallout 3. That's when I discovered Morrowind. Never finished it, but first played Morrowind. That was it was almost like a Dark Souls 1 experience. That little bit I played. There was more. Oh, Warband. I discovered Warband. It was, I might have to call that my golden age, because wow, so much nice stuff on Game Pass. Ark completely taken over my life when I was playing it. Like that short period I played it taken over my life like that. Actually no, I didn't really play Ark during. No, I did. I had a period, like short period playing it. What else? Okay, that's not even what this is about. I hate doing that. I see ya. Thank you for watching. I'm so sorry for rambling about that stuff. I feel like every time at the end of these I go off on some tangent about the exact same thing. Thank you for watching my Dark Souls 1 playthrough. Thank you for watching the final Dark Souls part for this playthrough. The end. Thank you for watching the end of my Dark Souls playthrough. And for moving forward, will I make a Dark Souls 1 video again? Well, first off, I should gain the achievements and showing all the stuff I didn't do in this. Other than that, there could be more. I doubt, because there's a lot of stuff to play and record. Will I, on my free time, play some Dark Souls 1? Probably. Nothing crazy, but just tasting it a little bit. But, so yeah.